Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I know I put out a bunch of videos breaking down these fights individually for UFC Vegas 68, but I think I'm going to do a full card breakdown. I think I'm going to start doing that every Sunday when I can go live. Today, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go live. Ended up having to have one of my kids home today with me. So, we're going to do this, pre-recorded. I'm sorry, but either way, leave a comments down below if you agree, if you disagree, like the other ones. If you like these longer format videos, let me know. And also subscribe to the channel if you are new. And either way, let's jump right into it. First, we're talking about Taira, 12 wins, no losses. Huge favorite at minus 1,000. 23 years old, stands 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Fighting Jesus Aguilar, 8 wins, 1 loss. Again, big underdog at plus 650. 26 years old, 5'4" with a 62.5-inch reach. So 7.5-inch reach advantage for Taira and 3 inches in height. Unfortunately for Aguilar, this is kind of a lose-lose because not only is he shorter, not only is his reach a lot shorter, his style is, striking, and he's really good at that. But the issue with that is Taira wants you to get close. Aguilar has to get close to be able to hit him. He doesn't have the kicks to make up with the range, and even at that, he's the shorter guy. And unfortunately, because he has to get in close, that's all Taira wants. That's what he wants Aguilar to do, is to get close, and for Taira to it takes a lot off Taira. He doesn't necessarily have to work as much for it because Aguilar's going to have to get in close. He's going to have to close that distance. I have Taira winning this decision probably, but he definitely could get a submission later in the fight. And next fight we will talk about is Jung Park versus Dennis Tolian. Again, I'm a huge fan of Dennis Tolian. I think he's fun. He's game. It's just somebody for some reason I end up rooting for. But Jung Park, 15 wins, 5 losses, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His 1 loss is against RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez, who's finished this last weekend, this last fight card. Either way, though, that fight, back and forth, Park had moments on the feet, stood on the feet, I think, a little bit too much against somebody, a power guy like Rodriguez, when Park probably has the advantage, at least mixing in takedowns and stuff, whether he gets them just working for him. He gets finished. Park ends up getting finished against the cage. First time in his career he gets finished with punches. But he's a slight favorite at minus 195. 31 years old. Stands 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Dennis Tolian, 11 wins, 6 losses. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 2-1 in his last 3, though. Losing his debut by rear naked choke, but again, for some reason, you just rooted for him. You wanted to see him pull through. Then he comes back and fights Jamie Pickett, which at this point, everybody's beating Jamie Pickett, so it is what it is. But plus 165 underdog, 34 years old, stands 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. So Park's going to have to work for it. He's going to have to do it. But unfortunately for Tolian, is his takedown defense against Jamie Pickett, it obviously was better, but that's not great because this Jamie Pickett, the guy that he fought before and was submitted, it was taking him down really at will. Again, it was short notice, but Park being as good as he is on the ground, he's for surely going to be looking for takedowns against the cage, and I think that's how he gets it. He gets, at some point, gets Tolian down to the ground, beats him up, and wins a pretty close decision. It's going to be, what are the judges looking at? The striking of Tolian or the ground game of Park? And I think they end up giving it to Park. I just think he does enough on the ground to be able to pick up a win. Next fight we're talking about is Ji Young Kim versus Mandy Baum. Ji Young Kim is 9-6-2. She's 1-4 in her last 5 fights. Has fought some pretty good competition, but still has lost 4 in a row. She's still somehow a minus 265 favorite. She's 33 years old, stands 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. Mandy Baum is 7 wins. She's 7-2. She's 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Lost her last 2 fights. Pretty big underdog at 220, plus 220. 33 years old as well. Same height for Mandy Baum at 5'7" with a 1-inch disadvantage at 71. 1-inch reach advantage for Kim. I like Kim in this. I think she does well. I thought in her last fight against Jocelyn Edwards, she showed improvement in her striking and mixing everything together. She just lost a split decision. I like her a lot against Mandy Baum. Unfortunately, I think for Baum is Kim's not a crazy grappler. She's just not really what she tend to have done in the UFC at least. I like Kim in this. I think she beats up Baum from the outside. It seems like she's not that longer, longer than Baum. But for some reason, she tends to fight a little bit longer than I guess she even is. I thought she would have been longer than she is, but she's not. Again, either way, I have Ji Yeon Kim winning by decision. Now, break all these down. Hong Sung Park versus Sung Guk Choi. Hong Sung Park, 7-0 minus 220 favorite. He's 27 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Sung Guk Choi, 6 wins, 1 loss, plus 180. Underdog, 26 years old, 5'6", 1 inch height for advantage for Park, and 2 inches in reach for Park as well. 64 for Choi. I have Park in this. I just think he mixes everything up better. And honestly, I think he probably gets a submission. His hands, his punches, his combinations are very, very nice. And I think that's where he gets a lot of his finishes from. I believe he has quite a bit of finishes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of his 7 wins are finishes. And a lot of those submissions come from, people having to shoot on him from his striking, and I really think that's really what separates Park from Choi in this fight. So Park, your winner. 5, Rinya Nakamura versus Tashomi Kanzoma. I have Nakamura hybrid 6-0, minus 450 favorite, 27 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Fighting Tashomi, 10 wins, 2 losses, was finished 2 fights ago, not that long ago, 8 months ago. He's a plus 330 underdog, which maybe be some good money to put on him. 25 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. 1 inch reach advantage for Kazoma. I just like the Nakamura. I like his ability to punch his way in, and he's really, really good at getting finishes. Again, only has 6 wins, but a really, really good wrestler. And I really think that's what leads him into this. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finishes out of his 6 wins. Again, really, really good wrestler, and I think that's why he wins this fight. I have him by decision, but it's probably some good money to put on Kazoma because, again, he has 12 wins. He has had more fights. It's not a bad money bet to do because, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 finishes out of his 10 wins. And, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are submissions. So there's that. But I just think Nakamura, I think with his striking, and he's definitely, I think, going to have power. But I think his wrestling is what inevitably wins him this fight, which I think is, again, going to be really, really fun. I think a lot of these fights are going to be fun. Zai Yi versus Jung Yi Lee. Jesus. Yi is 21 wins, 3 losses, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Did lose a year ago. He just finished. Plus 200 underdog. Seems a little crazy with having 24 fights and winning 21 of them. 5'7" with basically a 71-inch reach. Fighting the Korean Tiger, 9 wins, 1 loss, minus 250 favorite. 27 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach, 2-inch reach advantage, about maybe a little bit more. 3 inches in height. I just think the Korean Tiger does a little bit better things. I think he gets the finish on Zai Yi. I just think he overall is able to mix in his abilities a little bit better than Yi, which is crazy to say with only having 3 losses and having 21 wins, and this guy being 9-1. It's just from what I had watched, I like Lee's explosiveness. I like his combo ability. I just think he's a little bit more fluid. And And I think Yi panics sometimes when it doesn't go his way. So that's why I have Jung Young Lee as your winner and a finish as well as what I have. And then next is Anshul Jobli versus Jekka Saragi. I have Jekka Saragi on this. I think he gets a finish. I think he, again, puts things well together. And he's won a lot in a row. He's won 5 in a row. He's 13-2. He has a lot of finishes. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 out of his 13 wins are finishes. His 2 losses, Kimura, rear naked choke. The first Kimura was in his debut, and then his next one he was submitted in the 4th round. So again, I really, really like him in this fight. I think he is basically a pick him. He's 28 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach. Now, Anshul is going to be a lot taller at 6 foot tall, minus 120, basically even. Like I said, he's 6-0. Now, he does do things very well. You know, he has 2 by finish, arm triangle, and KO. The other ones are decisions. Again, I just like Zaragi. I like his ability to adapt in a fight. I like his ability to, oh, this isn't working, let's go here. I think he does a really, really good job at it. If he feels the fight he can get a finish, I think he jumps on that opportunity. Not that Jobli won't, but Jekka, I just think, does a little bit better mixing his abilities together. Again, another finish for Jekka. And then after him is Yasuku Kinoshita versus Adam Figueiredo. Yasoka, 6 wins, 1 loss. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His 1 loss is grabbing the cage he was disqualified for. He's a minus 275 favorite, 22 years old, 6 foot tall with a 71.5-inch reach. Adam Figueiredo, 8 wins, 3 losses, 4-1. We've seen him make his debut against Michael Morales, who did have some success in that fight. But I think a lot of that was also Michael Morales being a little bit reckless, and he left a lot of openings there for Adam. At plus 210 underdog might be somebody to think about putting some money on, because that's a pretty good line there. Is 34 years old, stands 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, 5.5-inch reach advantage for Adam Figueiredo, and he's 1 inch taller. I like Yasuku in this one. I think he gets a finish. It may not be on the feet, but I think he gets Adam Figueiredo in some bad places. Did fight on the Contender Series. Did look very, very good in that fight. Didn't get a contract, or he did get a contract in August 30th. Again, big fight. Showed a lot of good things the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round clipped him 43 seconds in and was able to get him out of there. Again, did lose in 2021, grabbing the cage. If you watch that fight, wasn't a bad fight at all for him. But again, I have Kinoshita winning this. I think he even gets a finish, which I think is very, very impressive, because it took Michael Morales a little while to actually get that finish that he really, really needed. It took him to the 3rd round. And Adam Figueiredo did slow down. His cardio wasn't great, but it was short notice. Kinoshita, I believe, wins this fight. And then finally, Doo-Ho Choi finally comes back, fighting Kyle Nelson. Korean Superboy, 14 wins, 4 losses, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Hasn't won a fight in 6 years. He's been gone for 3. Minus 220 favorites. Crazy, still a favorite. 31 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Fighting Kyle Nelson, 13 wins, 5 losses. He's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, 1-2 in his last 3. Plus 180 underdog, nothing crazy. 31 years old, stands 5'11" with a 71-inch reach, 1 inch in height, 1 inch in length. I think the Koreans, Doo-Ho Choi, Korean Superboy, but Doo-Ho Choi, I think his striking is going to be on point on this. I think he rushes Kyle Nelson. We've seen Kyle Nelson being able to fold. The only win Kyle Nelson has in the octagon is against Polo Reyes. He made his debut against Diego Ferreira 4 years ago and was kind of destroyed in that fight. Fought Matt Sales, was submitted in that where he should have dominated Matt Sales, let's be honest. And then Billy Q really, really beat him up. Finished him, I think, early in the second or third. And then Jai Herbert, when he moved up in weight, I believe. I think he was 145 beforehand. Jai Herbert really beat him up. Really, really beat him up. Doo Ho Choi, again, I think gets a finish probably early. I think he rushes Nelson and makes Nelson panic. And I think he gets him out of there at 13-5, 1-4 in the UFC. He really, really needs to show out in this one. So does Choi. And I think the time off, 3 years off for Korean Superboy, gives him that exact refresher. And I think he really needs that. So Doo Ho Choi, your winner. And then next is Marcin Tybura versus Blagoy Ivanov. Marcin Tybura, 23 wins, 7 losses, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His one loss is against Alexander Volkov, and I actually thought he won that decision. So he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, minus 195 favorite, which I think is okay, cool. 37 years old, 6'3", with a 78-inch reach. Blagoy, 19 wins, 4 losses, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I know he lost to Derek Lewis by split, and I think some people thought he won. Maybe I'm thinking of the what's that? Ilir Latifi fight that Derek Lewis had, and people thought Ilir Latifi won. And then Augusto Sakai, I thought was, again, 2 split decision losses there. Did come back and beat Marcus Rodrigo de Lima after de Lima finished Ben Rothwell. So pretty impressive there for Ivanov. Plus 165 underdog. He's 36 years old. 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. The thing about this is because of how much shorter and how much difference of length that Ivanov has, he has to play the game almost to Tybura. And he's never been a guy that's really great at cutting fighters off. He's never been a guy that's been great with like one-punch KO power. That's not what his game is. Marcin Tybura has really good footwork, really good pacing, good cardio. And even if that first round doesn't go well, he does good adapting, especially recently. And, you know, a good confidence booster. He's the first person to beat King Kong, Alexander Romanov, by majority. Really, really bad first round. Came back in the next 2 rounds and won those rounds and won the fight. Very impressive for Tybura, but this is a match made in heaven for Tybura. A lot of movement. Oh, okay, you're going to have a guy that is constantly coming at you. Tybura is good at dodging and all those things unless you have big power. We've seen like Augusto Sakai finish him against the cage and stuff like that, but Derek Lewis finish him, whatever. But Ivanov doesn't have that one-punch KO power. He doesn't have that. He's a, you know, grind guy type deal, but Tybura is better movement, better striking, more fluid. Marcin Tybura. One of the easier picks, honestly. I have him winning by decision. Next is Da-Un Chung versus Devin Clark. Da-Un Chung, 15 wins, 3 losses. He's 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. Did get a draw against Sam Alvey, and I thought Sam Alvey won it. Whatever. And he was finished by Dustin Jacoby 4 months ago. Unbelievable right hand, flatlined Da-Un Chung. Minus 245 favorite, 29 years old, 6'4" with a 78.5-inch reach. We do have to remember he was finished 4 months ago. It's going to be about 5 months by the time they fight. But still, 78.5-inch reach. Devin Clark, Brown Bear, 13 wins, 7 losses, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. This guy just loses and loses and loses, wins. Loses and loses and loses and wins. It's ridiculous. Beat Alonzo Manafield, took his O, and then lost to Anthony Smith, Ian Cutelaba, and Cutelaba is not a good loss to have. Anthony Smith you can live with. William Knight finally gets that finish in the UFC. What's he do? Comes back and loses against Azamat Murzakanov, ground and pound, 5 months ago. He's just so inconsistent. Plus 200 underdog. Not a good bet to place on that. 32 years old, 6 foot tall with a 75-inch reach. 3.5-inch reach advantage for Jung, and 4 inches in height. I see Da-Un Jung picking apart Devin Clark from the outside, and once he hurts Clark, because he is going to hurt him, he's going to end up hurting him. It's going to happen. I think he finds that finishing shot, and I think he puts Devin Clark out and out of the UFC, hopefully. But Dong Chung, your winner. And now for the main event of UFC Vegas 68. Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivac. Derek Lewis, 26 wins, 10 losses, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, 1-2 in his last 3. He's a plus 190 underdog, nothing really to write home about. 37 years old. He'll be 38 soon. 6'3 with a 79-inch reach. Sergey Spivac, 15 wins, 3 losses. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Most recently losing to Tom Aspinall 3 fights ago. He's on a 2-fight win streak now. He beat Greg Hardy and then he beat Augusto Sakai. And the Augusto Sakai one was pretty impressive because Sakai is a guy that had momentum, and the last couple guys have just kind of stole that from him ever since the Alistair Overeem fight. He's a minus 225 favorite. So Sergey Spivac is the favorite in this fight. And granted, he definitely should be. 28 years old. 6'3 with a 78-inch reach. 1-inch reach advantage for Derek Lewis. And of course, Sergey Spivac is not going to be looking to strike with Derek Lewis. He's going to look to, leg kick, pick his spots, pick when to go inside. He has to, he can't go for takedowns blind. Derek Lewis is very, very good against wrestlers that don't mix in. Like Curtis Blades didn't mix it in. Marcin Tybura, when he got tired, he was able to. Derek Lewis was able to find that chin. Unfortunately for Spivac, he has good cardio. He does very good at getting hold of you somehow. Polar bear, they call him. And I like Spivac. I think his cardio holds up. I do think there's going to be some points where he's going to have to survive a moment. But all that is good for Derek Lewis, for Sergey Spivac on Derek Lewis's cardio. And I think we're going to see a lot more body kicks. I think we're going to see a lot more teeps to keep Lewis away because Spivac's not going to be worried about him going to the ground. Lewis is the one that has to defend the takedowns, mix in his striking, and not get tired. Spivac can go all day. Unfortunately, I have Sergey Spivac winning 4th or 5th round. I think he gets Lewis really tired. I do think Lewis survives a little bit when he's tired, but I think at some point Spivac's going to get Derek Lewis in a really bad position. I think Sergey Spivac gets the TKO finish, and Derek Lewis probably retires. I'd like to see Lewis win just because I like his KOs. I like all those things. And he's almost 38. Spivac can come back from a loss. Derek Lewis cannot, especially 3 in a row, 3 finishes in a row. Yikes. But Sergey Spivac is your winner. As always, guys, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave your comments down below if you agree, if you disagree, and also leave your comments down below if you like these longer format videos. I'm trying it out. I had some people tell me they'd like to see that. So here you go. As always, guys, you know what it is. Peace.